What it is, what it do, cyber world. It is your girl, the one, the only, Ash Said It. AshSaidIt.com, AshSaidIt.com. Welcome to the Ash Said It Daily Podcast Show. I appreciate you guys for all of your love and support. Over 1,600 episodes and 500,000 streams worldwide. None of this would be possible without you guys, so I thank you so very much. And yes, I know that some of us are still inside a bit. We are still social distancing a little. And I wanted to bring someone to the table that is absolutely making the indoor experience something, something else, something bigger and better. I am talking about the host of Makers of Maine podcast, the wonderful Kristan. Hey, Kristan.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Oh, thank you so much for joining us, Kristan. So, Kristan, all right, now you have got a pretty lengthy resume behind you. So, we're going to talk about pre-COVID. Before COVID happened, before we know COVID was a thing, what was your career path?
So, my career path was really a full-time publicist. So, I did public relations work for small businesses up and down the East Coast. So I'm originally from Maryland, but moved up to Maine, I would say about 3 years ago. And I just really wanted to get into more product-focused public relations. So I started with a small company here in Maine, and then I started my own publicist business, and it kind of just grew from there. So I am definitely blessed to have my own business, and I've had some great support along the way and great mentors. But yeah, that was kind of what I was doing prior to COVID.
Yeah, okay, so let's fast forward now. After COVID's hit us, and everybody's got to make their own little transitions, let's talk a little bit about your pivot into podcasting. How did that go?
So, man, when the pandemic hit, I just had my second child. He is now 1 year old, which is crazy that it's been a year into the pandemic. Yeah. Now it's kind of mind-boggling. But so I, had a various amount of clients, and a lot of people didn't know what was going to happen. So usually the first thing that goes when it comes to budget and just operations is marketing. So I lost clients, in the midst of all of that. So I said, it's a wake-up call for me. I'll just be a stay-at-home mom. I'll be home with the kids. I pulled my daughter out of daycare at the time, and I was like, I'll just stay at home with them. Yeah. But I'm the type of person who likes to be very hands-on and just very innovative in practice. And I was like, I need to find a way to give back to these makers right now. We're in such crazy times, challenging times. So I thought, let's start a podcast. It's a new medium. It's something that I started to get into. I've been listening to a lot of them. And there isn't really a podcast here that really focuses on the craft here that's going on in our state. Right. And so that kind of idea boiled up and just grew. So, I got a couple friends together, and I said, hey, can you help me with this project? They said, sure. So I got some audio equipment, got a photographer to help me capture the visuals of this craft. And it just blew up. It officially started in June, and I started off with some clients that I had during my publicist career, and then I actually got to interview some people I've never even met before and learn about their craft. So it's been crazy, and now I'm up to over 5,000 downloads of my podcast, so it just continues to grow daily, and I'm super honored and thankful for this maker community, and I just look forward to seeing it grow even further.
Absolutely. Well, first off, I want to say congratulations, because I know firsthand, starting a podcast and keeping momentum up and being innovative, it takes a lot. It takes a lot out of you.
Thank you. It definitely does.
Yes. But as you were starting the podcast and as you're going through, you're going to celebrate your first year, come June. But as things were starting off for you, what would you say was the first challenge that you faced?
I would say the first challenge that I faced was the partnerships that I made. I found that, I had so many ideas, and pulling in a lot of my friends and people that I care about into the project was beneficial, yet it sort of hurt me at the same time. I'm not going to lie. I lost some friendships due to this project, just because I wanted to go somewhere maybe that they didn't really want to go, or I didn't agree with either, and there was just a lot of back and forth, and I regret that to this day, because I am no longer, friends with those people, and that hurts, because I've been friends with them for a really long time, and I think that has been the biggest challenge, is like trying to navigate my own brand in my own way while trying to respect those that want to support it at the same time. Yeah. So I find that has been the most challenging, to really just feel as though that I have a good hold on this. I don't want to be too innovative, because, I want to focus and make it a simple process, because I do have a personal life where I'm tending to 2 kids. Yeah. I have a husband that, I want to spend time with. And then I also have, friends and family who, unfortunately, I don't get to see very much of it in the midst of this pandemic. But I'm trying to, support them in ways through a virtual community, too. And so I feel like, there needs to be a good balance. But, you just need to make sure that you have all your ducks in a row when you're starting a big project like this. And it's not just a podcast. I mean, it really is, it's capturing visuals. So working with photographers and working with videographers and doing your due diligence and making sure that agreements, are set up in the beginning of that relationship. And I, didn't do that. And that definitely hurt. And so that's something I've learned, and I'm still learning about to this day. So I feel like that has probably been the most challenging thing in terms of my podcast.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, also, keeping in mind, a lot of times, we see vision. We see our own vision in front of us. And the people that sometimes are around us may not see that vision. And that's okay. That's totally okay. But I've noticed, just even in my career and personal life and otherwise, people, some people, there's a season for it, sometimes there's a season for that friendship, for that connection, that business relationship. And sometimes it's not necessarily beneficial for either party anymore. And while it may hurt, in order for you to grow and really get next level and get to that next place, some people have to fall off. And that's just the way that it is sometimes. That I've learned that lesson way too many times over.
Yeah, I'm glad that somebody else has gone through this, because it is very challenging. It really is. It is. And, and it's not that I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings, and I'm sure you're the same way. It's kind of like you have a direction, you want to take it, and, you want people to follow along and partner with you and help you, but at the same time, it's like you don't want too many hands in the pot either.
Yeah. Yeah, you need to make sure that you have full control of your brand, how it's represented, how it's being distributed to people, and things of that nature. And I've had friends where I've lost a couple of friendships over this podcast throughout the years. People that I've known since childhood years, and maybe they felt that they were entitled to something, or they didn't like a topic that I did. Either or, like, this is my reality. This is my show. I created this. I created my own brand. And some people are just not going to understand that. And I've just come to the realization of, you know what? Some people are just not meant to stay in your life. You take a lesson or, heartfelt memories from that connection. But you have to continue to push forward. And it's a challenge. We're human. We're not robots. We're not people that are just like, oh my gosh, just automatically programmed. No, you have feelings, and they're valid feelings. But when people step on your feelings or try to diminish, like I couldn't tell you how many people told me starting a podcast, that's stupid. That's dumb, Ash. Why would you do something like that? It's not going to go anywhere. It's not going to do anything. Well, if I had listened to those people, my show wouldn't be on all platforms. I wouldn't have people around the world that download the podcast that say, hey, Ash, I love when you had this person on. I love when you had that person on. And if I had listened to the people, all the naysayers, we wouldn't be talking right now, Kristan. We would not be talking right now. So, it's just sometimes we got to, take it in stride. But know that, I mean, obviously you're making, headway yourself with your show, and people are noticing it, and it's getting even more attention, and more people are going to continue to help it grow. And unfortunately, some people have to be, casualties to it. And again, we're human beings, we're valid, and some people got to drop off.
Right. We're not perfect.
No one is perfect. No, not saying that. None of us are perfect. But if me having a vision for something, you feel that challenges you, or you're jealous, or whatever the case is, well, then you're just going to have to be jealous, because I'm not going to stop what I'm doing. Point blank, period.
Right. Yep. You're spot on. You're spot on.
Got that. But Kristin, for you, all right, let's just jump back, because I got a little derailed. For you, what was your moment of confirmation with the podcast? The moment that happened, or the instance, or the thing that happened that let you know this is exactly what I'm supposed to be doing?
Oh, man. I mean, there's been a lot of those instances. So last year in October, a friend of mine, whom I met through Instagram, had not met in person yet. She had just moved to Maine from New York City, and she's a publicist. And she's a very renowned publicist. She actually has her own PR school for small businesses. And I was, just starting off with the podcast, very new, slowly building my community. And I told her about it. And, we had to talk in, and she's like, why don't you just pitch yourself? Pitch yourself out to these national publications. Pitch yourself out there. And I was like, I've never pitched myself. Like, that's just very weird to me. Yeah. Like, I am not the type of person to put myself at the forefront. I like to put others. I like to put my clients first. I like to put the makers first. And so I decided to go and do that. I put a pitch together and pushed it out there, and it got good attention. I actually was on Good Morning America on the 3rd hour of last October. And it was an amazing experience. And I would have to say that, in the midst of the interview process, and then also, getting prepared for it, and then the reaction that I got from my interview, and all the messages that I received from that exposure, that's when I realized that I needed to be doing this. I received messages from New Jersey, Pennsylvania, California, Maryland, Florida, all over the nation, just saying, hey, when are you going to expand your podcast to Makers of USA? Because there are so many makers here in our nation that need to tell their stories. And we are enjoying what you're doing in Maine. So that's kind of how I kept rolling with it. And I was like, you know what? This is my inspiration. This is what I need to be doing. And this is why I enjoy it so much, because there's not just storytelling here in the great state of Maine where I live. There's storytelling all over in terms of craft. And I think I'm super passionate about made in USA products. So it's a big movement, and I don't think that's ever going to go away. I find it just amazing to see internal, manufacturing, happening here in the U.S. and to buy local. I'm a huge proponent of it. And I know a lot of folks are even bigger proponents of it right now because we're in the midst of the pandemic, and a lot of our small businesses are hurting because not many people are going out and shopping right now. They're shopping online, and some of these makers don't have online shops. So I would say that this is definitely something bigger than Makers of Maine. It's going to be, Makers of USA eventually. It's just a matter of my time and efforts in getting that out there. I don't know when it's going to be, but it's going to be hopefully in the next 5 to 10 years. Fingers crossed.
We're going to claim that. I love it.
Yes.
We're claiming that for you, girlie. So last but certainly not least, what advice could you offer to any young woman today that has a dream to be an entrepreneur, to be her own boss?
To really focus, one. And what I mean by focus is really paying attention to your surroundings while at the same time focusing on your vision. Where you want to go in life. Like, what is that one thing that you want to do? But you could pivot in so many directions with that one thing. I mean, throwing my story as an example, like, I really wanted to tell stories through marketing. That's what I started in my career, and then I got into PR, and now I'm a podcast host. It's crazy how I got from one element to now this. Yeah. I'm usually the person going and pitching to podcast hosts and to other media outlets. I've never been on the other side of the lens. So I would say to, all the women entrepreneurs out there, whether you're new or just still out there kicking butt and just looking for other things to do and pivoting your business, you can do it. It's just a matter of, what's your focus? What's that one thing that you want to continue to expand on? And I would say both of my businesses, they're all about storytelling, and that is my one focus. And lastly also is to don't let anybody tell you that you can't do something. I find that is something that has been in my life for a long time. Like, some people told me that I wasn't going to be able to get into a 4-year college. Well, I did. I got my bachelor's degree, and then I got my master's degree, and I was in 6 different jobs throughout my entire career. Now that I have 2 of my own businesses, I find that is something that people don't realize that they can do. Right. And I've known women that have started their own businesses right out of college. There are so many things you can do in life, and just don't let anybody bring you down and tell you that you can't do it.
I love it, Kristin. I love it. You guys, the podcast.
Women empowerment.
Yes, more power. I love it. All right, you guys, the podcast, Makers of Maine. Go and check it out on all platforms. Kristin, thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate you beyond words.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so honored to be a part of your podcast.
No problem. And let everyone know, website-wise, social media-wise, how they can find you.
Just head on over to Makers of Maine on Instagram and Facebook, and you can find me on any podcast channel.
All right. You guys heard it first. I appreciate each and every one of you guys. Thank you so much for all of your love and support. Keeping in mind, anyone to tell you that you can't do what you want to do, you look them square in the face. You tell them, don't believe me. Just watch. Watch what I do. Watch me make it happen. Watch me make history. That's what we're doing this for, the history books. Social media is nice, but real life is so much better. Until next time, you guys.